Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, guys. Welcome to Freeway, our very first episode of the Freeway podcast. And today we're going to be talking to you about two topics. This has been a heavy week to start off on. The first topic we're going to talk about is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Then we are going to talk about Trump's deployment of the National Guard and threatening deployment of the National Guard to other cities, as well as especially Memphis and Chicago. And joined with me is David. My name is Hazel, and we're just going to probably jump into it.
Hello.
Hi, David. So how about you tell me a little bit about what happened that day, and what university was it again? It was
So Charlie Kirk was visiting Utah. He was kicking off his tour. He was basically going around the country doing his change my mind tour. I don't know if many people even know Charlie Kirk, because I'm noticing that a ton of people didn't even know who the man was. So just to give a little bit of background, he was the CEO of Turning Point USA, which is a conservative, basically like a advocate group. They push a lot of far right talking points and most of the standard conservative talking points as well, but they do
trans people are evil and after your kids. Second Amendment raw.
They do dip into like the far right a lot. So he loved to do debate tours, basically going to college campuses. So Charlie Kirk would do a change my mind kind of segment. So he would argue a point, and then somebody from the audience would come in and argue it back, or he would just take questions from the audience, and they would come up to him with those topics and kind of try to refute and argue them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he was at his first stop. And I believe it was even during his first question.
I don't know if it was his first, but it was early on.
Yeah, it was super early on in his speech, and I think it literally was the first person asking him a question. And unfortunately, and I do mean that, unfortunately, he was shot in the neck at Utah Valley University. And he was that marked the, I believe, 46th school shooting this year. And shortly after, I think not even an hour later, the 47th school shooting happened in Colorado.
Yeah, which is just insane to me. And to make matters worse, or I guess the cruel irony of the fact was that the question he was asked was related to gun violence.
Yes, so that was his last words were asking if the gun violence included gang violence, I believe.
Yeah. Right after claiming that there were too many trans shooters in America.
Yes. I didn't agree with much of anything of what Charlie Kirk believed, or his stance on pretty much anything. I don't believe in violence as like a tool for anything other than defense. I feel like if it's like a situation where it's kill or be killed, I guess, like what else are you gonna do? But this wasn't that situation. This was literally a dude just talking and saying stuff that might not have, people might not agree with, but he was just talking at the end of the day.
I mean, it sets a terrible, terrible precedent for anyone to get gunned down on a college campus, like debating with people whether or not their rhetoric could be perceived as harmful. My biggest interest personally in the shooting, and one that I feel like isn't talked about nearly enough because of how political of a man Charlie Kirk was the fact that this was another act of gun violence at a school that was done to a man who, very unfortunately, and sometimes I wonder, like who was like one of the main perpetrators, who would say like, no, we don't want gun regulations. And I think that part of that is like something really needs to be done, and the fact that no one's really talking about that, and they're instead trying to like push it on to trying to play the blame game once again and make it this huge thing of like, oh, the shooter was a trans alien person, when they really weren't. Actually, a suspect was apprehended. True. And so far what we know about him was that his name was, I don't know if you remember his name, David.
Tyler Robinson.
But he ended up being a white male who, while I personally think that the political leanings of this man is ultimately irrelevant, and is also ambiguous, like, you can see
I just want to clear that up. He was not registered to any political party.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think he even voted in the last election. There are some clips of him dressing up as Pepe the Frog, which is a far right. It's a far right meme, but it's also like a Twitch thing too. Like I don't know. And there's also him dressed up as Trump for Halloween, but who knows what that even means. Like the difference here is what I'm seeing is people were very quick to jump to like, this is a leftist and radical leftist did this and da da da. And it's like, oh, why would a right winger like kill one of their own kind of thing? And I'm like, why would any sane person kill somebody? Exactly. This is not a sane person. Like, if you're going to take another person's life, you're not mentally there. So I don't understand why we're trying to rationalize what the irrational, you know what I mean? Like, if it doesn't, if it's an irrational thing that's happening, why are we trying to put rational thought behind it?
Like, I feel like that especially I feel like the first question we shouldn't ask is who you voted for. It should have been like, it's somebody who killed somebody, and it feels very disingenuous to immediately turn around, like, on both sides too, and be like, will this person help my team?
Yeah.
Because at the point, like, I feel like at this point we really and this is not to judge the character of Charlie Kirk. This is to say, because the school shootings too, I would say the exact same thing, and I will say the exact same thing right here. This shows us more now than ever we need to do something about guns in America.
Yeah, but that's not something that he advocated for, which is sad. We don't know if the gun regulations and stricter gun laws that we advocate for would have 100% saved his life. But I would wager that it would have made this shooting way less possible in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just really tough to talk about. I don't know if you saw the videos. I did, because they were kind of like plastered everywhere.
I got lucky.
There was a shot from the side, and when he got hit with the bullet, I was like, oh my god, maybe he'll survive that though. Like, I was like, I don't know. But then shortly after, I saw a view that was straight on, and I was like, there's no way he's going to survive that.
I didn't get to see any video.
It was very graphic. I wish I didn't see either one, but they were literally you couldn't avoid it that day. Like once it happened, it was just everywhere. Everywhere. Everybody had it on their feed.
I got
People were
lucky.
reposting it like over and over and over, and it's just like, oh my god, like I don't want to see. I didn't want to see it the first time, but seeing it a bunch of times in the feed, I was like, I can't even be on social media today because it's just like,
Yeah.
ugh. And I have a lot of empathy, which is something else that he was very against. He said, I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made up new age term that does a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people don't like hearing the quotes from the man, but it's like
We
this is what he said. Like
yeah.
I don't know what else to tell you, you know, like
Just
but
because
I
he was
I
killed in a violent way does not mean that we cannot condemn him for the negative actions that he put out into the world.
yeah. Like I think I have empathy for his wife and kids because now, you know, his kids especially because they're going to grow up without a dad. And that's I don't want I don't want anybody in this country to get shot ever. And that like as somebody who does identify as a progressive, like I don't think I understand that guns are created to cause the most damage possible to and like to whatever the target is, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
like the primary purpose of a gun. And I just I don't like hearing that anybody was shot or killed from gun violence, and I don't think it's something that other developed nations have to deal with. I don't understand why we have more guns in this country than humans.
I
And we also don't have like every citizen in this country doesn't own a gun.
I
So
agree.
it's just
Um,
it's just a wild gun culture, a wild amount of like of violence. Like I feel like American culture is just very violent. I saw a poll that came out that like how many people think that this is a turning point for America or like this is
a
like a
turning point for USA.
oh come on.
I'm sorry. I it was right there, and I got you got to add a little bit of sprinkles to this big turd that we have right here. You know.
Yeah, but the poll was basically like, do you think that this is going to do something? Like this is going to change
Yeah.
anything? And most people said no. And
Well,
I think it's just because we're desensitized as a society to gun violence
well, yeah. I
because we
mean,
see it so
people.
often.
It happens, and people repost it on their Instagram feeds over and over and over again. Like that's crazy to me. It's like, hey, someone got shot, and the first thing that people think to do is post it on the internet.
I mean,
I don't know. I feel like post it on a video too. I don't know. I find that
I'm just surprised that
insane
that these social media platforms didn't at least
immediately.
censor it or something, you know,
Yeah.
like how are they not on that? Like, oh, you should probably not like I guarantee you a bunch of little kids saw that.
Oh, and exactly, and it will probably shape them for the rest of their lives. And it's just all.
I'm a grown adult and I'm like
Yeah, I'm
not
glad I
only
didn't get to
shook
see it.
by it but also like it just like it was so
Yeah,
gross. It was
I'm
just so
glad
gross.
I somehow missed it.
Yeah,
It was
I'm
my
glad
day off too. I think I was online most of the day. No, I was the
I'm
day before
glad
my
you
day off.
missed it because it's not something that
Yeah,
I don't think it's something that any sane person sees and then walks away like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Like,
yeah, like, oh, save, share.
yeah, especially like for me because I have been like hyper online in terms of politics for the last, you know, I guess decade, and seeing somebody that I've seen, you know, debate Hassan Piker, debate
Hmm.
Cenk Uygur. Like I seen him
Yeah,
all over the place debating so many people.
I
There was actually like a debate when he went to like Cambridge, and like it was a really good debate
I
there too.
used to watch him.
That's wild. Like you used
I,
to watch him like a fan.
well, I mean, so for our listeners, was I was a person who went through the alt right pipeline and made it out into progressivism.
That's wild. That's
Yeah,
wild.
I know. It's insane, but I used to put Matt Walsh,
What?
Change My Mind, Ben
The
Shapiro.
dude that says what is a woman?
Oh my good. There's a lot of things you don't know about me, David.
That's
Yep.
wild.
I was the most transphobic, bigoted person that you would have met a few years ago.
Wow.
And now look at me. I'm a trans woman making a progressive podcast. And I think that this is actually a good time to bring on our first guest speaker. It is our first episode. And so don't get too used to her, because she's just going to be on every so often. But we're going to be bringing on right now the party leader and future 2040 candidate of the Progressive Party, Sydney.
For President of the United States.
Yes.
Don't forget that part.
For President of the United States. We're going to be bringing on Sydney, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about this, and more importantly about the gun situation in America. So, hi, Sydney. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing fine. I mean, as fine as someone who just found out that the National Guard is being sent into the state they're currently in is, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh, yes, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so what is your reaction to these recent shootings? I mean, the ones in the schools, the two schools. Do you remember where they were at, David?
Yeah. It was one in Colorado.
Yeah, one was in Colorado, and of course the one in Utah, and I think there another one too? I wouldn't even be surprised if there was.
I mean, I don't know. I know that a few months ago, also, like, Melissa Hortman was assassinated too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is just, oh my goodness. Again, like,
and it
talk
wasn't
about
just her,
on both sides.
It was her husband and her dog, and they were all in their home.
Yeah, and the guy had like a hit list too, and
yeah,
man, again, like, you see, just even with the political violence, we can see that this is not a partisan. That this is obviously not like a partisan thing. Like, they're going after everyone everywhere.
But yeah, so Sydney.
Yeah.
What are your views on the gun violence, and how do you think that we as a society need to address it?
Yeah, so obviously I was really shocked on Wednesday when I found out that Charlie Kirk had been assassinated. I was even more hurt when I found out about the school shooting in Colorado. I remember when Melissa Hortman was assassinated on the day of the No Kings protest. That was also really shocking. And it's just hard to see political violence be so normalized in this country. Violence in like all senses of the word, whether it's, a school shooting, an assassination. It's like society is like processing it, but also like moving on really quickly and letting all the pain add up and up and up. And this has been, a recurring theme in our society for a while. I mean, one of my first ever political memories was when I was in 7th grade and the Parkland shooting happened. And that was the first time that my school ever protested for anything. And it was the only time my school ever protested for anything. And I remember everyone back in 2018 being like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. We can't let this happen again. And it's happened again and again and again and again, and even to the point where now political figures on both sides of the aisle are being assassinated, and it's heartbreaking. But we need to fix this. We can't go on as a country letting people be assassinated, letting people be killed. We are in a country that's supposed to be the land of the free, but true freedom is when true peace and is when you are able to, go to school or go to an event or just go in your car without the fear of a gun ending your life.
I agree so much. There needs to be like changes. And, I feel like that at a societal level, there has to be some sort of causes, and I kind of want to ask you, well, what do you think those causes would be?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'd say polarization is such a big issue, especially now, especially in the 2020s when pretty much the internet, we're being fed completely different content types depending on, who you are, what your algorithm is feeding you, and we have completely different views of the world. And also, there is a mental illness crisis in this country. There is a loneliness epidemic in this country, and people aren't being, treated for that. Schools, aren't being able to fully fund therapy programs. I remember in my school, counselors weren't used as much for mental health as they were for getting students into college. And I feel like investing in a mental health and as an entire nation can help partially address this, because we always forget that 5 years ago, we as a society, as a global society, endured a collective trauma with the pandemic. And then with, right after the pandemic was occurring, seeing so much violence happen in the news, seeing George Floyd being killed, seeing January 6th, and we haven't really healed from those things, and more things have happened, especially in this decade so far. And I feel like we need time to process, and we need mental health support, and we need we need background checks, and we need a 30-day waiting period. Those are outlined in the Progressive Party platform. And we need to, obviously, the Second Amendment is there for a reason, but we need to make sure that we as a society are safe and free.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. I mean, I think that the polarization of our society is not helping at all. David, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so Sydney made a great point, and I kind of said it earlier, where we're just becoming desensitized because we're seeing the violence not only escalate, but on such a frequent basis that I feel like Americans are just like, oh, it's just another day in America, whatever. Sydney, if you were president of the United States right now, during this situation that's happening, what would you do? How would your reaction be? What would your message to the nation be?
Yeah, well, I do want to clarify, would this be policy action or just a message?
A message after hearing about, Charlie Kirk's assassination, essentially. Like, what would your message be to the American people? Because we kind of saw what
Trump blame all the leftists.
Yeah, we kind of saw Trump do something that was pretty abnormal for a president. Most of the time, a president after a tragedy would try to cool tensions and bring the nation together. But we kind of saw him take a different route where he, pointed the blame and kind of vowed retribution. So if you were a president during this situation, what would your ultimate message be to the American people?
My ultimate message to the American people is that we need to fix this. We need to make sure that no one is ever killed at a school ever again, because he was killed at a school. And that we as a nation, ultimately, some people believe some things, some people believe others, but ultimately, we are one nation, and we need to unite against the divisions and the hatred. And ultimately, we need change. And I obviously would put into place policy changes after that. But ultimately, my message would just be, we need to unite, and we are one nation and indivisible. That's literally what the pledge says. And we will ultimately fight to make sure that this doesn't happen ever again to anyone, regardless of what they believe.
I do love how you would make sure to focus on the root issue and the policy of it being the fact that it is gun violence. I think that's really a really great way to look at it. Actually, with kind of Trump's going off of Trump's like very honestly kind of concerning response with kind of targeting and pointing fingers before a lot of information has been put on. How do you think this will impact activism?
Yeah, well, we did see today that the administration is actively wanting to target those on the left. And I do know that I'm not sure if there's any legal ways they can go about it. I know that they've tried before with like defunding organizations and the stuff that they've done with Doge. I imagine that, but on a way larger scale. And what I think activism will look like is people will have to, stay strong and not let that get to them. And resources will be tight. There will have to be a lot of help coming from the people, word spreading from the people. And ultimately, I think this would be a great time for people to, get into mutual aid and helping their neighbor, helping communities, helping these organizations stay afloat. I sometimes talk about an organization called Common Heart on my Instagram page. It is the food pantry in Union County, North Carolina, where I live when I'm not at college. And they got half their funding cut because of the Doge cuts earlier this year. And so they've been able to stay afloat because of the support from the people, support from the community, support from people like me spreading the word. And they were able to get a lot of donations in, and they do need more, obviously, but just that kind of mutual aid will be needed on a much larger scale now that activists could be targeted in this retribution crossfire.
And ladies and gentlemen, please support food shelters. That is a
yes.
good. So, David, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, so actually, there was a bill that was being proposed, and the GOP thankfully backtracked on the bill. But House Representative, the House wanted to pass a bill. It was brought in by Brian Mast from Florida. Oh man, it was to basically give Marco Rubio the right to strip American citizens of their passports.
Yeah,
I heard about that.
Yeah, thankfully they backtracked.
Yeah, but yeah,
that's very unconstitutional. Hey, we want you to leave, but also we're gonna make sure that you can't.
I actually said the same thing. Like, it's ironic that the people who say, like, if you don't like it, leave, are now, like, trying to make it so you can't leave.
Well, who would they have to violently kick down their doors in the dead of night and, like, round up and force them to leave if they're all gone? You have to think about this, David. Who would the ICE agents, like, deport? We just signed a bunch of jobs for them.
But the key differentiator here is people who have U.S. passports are typically U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
So stripping U.S. citizens of their passports and then, doing what you were implying, setting ICE on U.S. citizens.
Then they won't have passports. How would we know that they're citizens? I mean, really, you're just not a forefront thinker, David.
Okay.
Pardon my sarcasm for those who don't quite get it, but yeah, no, this is that I'm so glad that got backed down on. I didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
about that.
the representative who, Brian Mast, again, he like moved to strike his own provision down. So I don't know.
Wow.
Maybe a lot of people called him and threatened to vote against
it.
Was
like, Ayo, what the heck?
Yeah, but that was when I read that story, I was pretty scared. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about the Charlie Kirk situation. I don't know if Hazel or Sydney, either one of you, have anything that you want to add. But yeah, it's not something that you want to see in a free society. Again, I think violence should be like the last like all other avenues should be completely exhausted before violence is even considered. Like obviously, if we're talking about like you know, the Nate Turner rebellions, or like the, you know,
I think Nat Turner was correct.
well, whatever. Like the point I'm getting at is like that, you know, there's situations where I guess violence would be helpful, but that was not it. You know, it's not.
I remember
nobody was being attacked. Nobody was being attacked. He was just talking. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know why it happened, and it's kind of messed up.
I remember I was having a conversation, and like violence, like I remember we were having a talk about it, how violence can be used as a kind of a tool of frustration from people, that clearly that there needs to be change that's happening. That doesn't make the violence inherently good or okay, but it very clearly shows that there is a problem and that there needs to be change done.
Yeah.
And I think that if like Sydney would like to say anything about this, I kind of would be curious to know what moving forward would look like, and like how, like what changes would the party try to aim for. Oh, well, aim was a bad word, but aim.
I want to piggyback on your question there and be like, what do you say to the doomers who have just like kind of given up all hope for the future of this country and just seeing everything that is happening like this? Like, where do we go from here?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing that has been giving me hope throughout this whole week, throughout all the bad news that's been coming out of, you know, Colorado and Utah and now Memphis, the biggest thing that's been giving me hope is knowing that we, the people, can create a better future. Knowing that we, as a nation, we were founded on we, the people, and we still can get back to that. And things, public support for what's going on with, you know, the administration and what, you know, they're doing to the people is going down. And more people are finding their voices. They're saying enough is enough. And even though our current leaders aren't really doing a lot to stand up for us, the people are. People are protesting in record numbers. Regular people are standing up to the National Guard and winning. We are being able to make change. And once we harness this into, you know, once we are able to, you know, get leaders out there, both on the streets and in office, like what we're trying to do, then we'll have a much better world. There's always hard times, but we can create something better. I know we can.
All right. And just I think we're gonna let you go here in a little bit, Sydney. But before you go, do you have any other messages for the viewers listening here?
Yeah, I'd say just never lose hope. They want you to think that they've won and that we can't do anything about it, but we've got this. I know we do.
Okay, that's great. Also, actually, we're going to be moving on to talk about Memphis, Tennessee, which is where you
Yeah.
where you are at.
Yeah.
I was like, why?
I forgot about that.
Why is she
We're not
like
letting
pushing
Sydney
her
go.
up? Why
Ending
is
that
she doing
topic.
this?
No, I
Hazel,
ruined
what are
it.
you
Don't worry.
doing?
We can cut that out. Oopsies. Anyways, yeah. So
Yeah,
we're gonna
we
go on
definitely
to
need
Memphis,
to edit
Tennessee instead.
Wait. Let's edit that whole segment out and let's reintroduce this.
Yeah.
I did want to say one more thing just to piggyback off of what Sydney said.
Oh yeah.
I read that, I don't know how true this is, but I read that researchers found that if only about 4% of the population just got really organized, then social change would come about. And I kind of, I'm kind of inclined to believe that, because I don't believe that like the civil rights movement and the, you know, anti-war movement and the, you know, gay rights movement for gay marriage and same-sex marriage was like astronomical amount of people out in the streets. I don't remember it being like 20% of the population or something astronomical.
Yeah. Well, Nepal just overthrew their corrupt government.
Well, there you go.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Dang. Yeah, that happened.
Well, then again, you also got to think about like the Revolutionary War as well, right? That wasn't a massive amount of people either, and they managed to get what they wanted.
So like to quote the Lorax, if someone like you cares unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's gonna get better.
Yep.
But people care.
That's a good
people
quote.
care.
I've been thinking about that quote a lot lately, and I think that I hope that some people will realize that you're more than just like the reels that you scroll through, and that we can make change, and we really should strive to. I mean, come on, like anything is possible. So
right on.
Yeah. But there is still enemies, and
yeah,
in
more depressing news, President Trump signed restores law and order in Memphis. That's what
our hero.
That's what the executive order page says right here. Fact sheet: President Donald J. Trump restores law and order in Memphis. Today, President Donald J. Trump signed a presidential. Oh, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. It wasn't a executive order like he typically does. It's a memorandum to address rampant quote. Like I'm quoting the article here from the WhiteHouse.com or .gov. Rampant crime in Memphis, Tennessee. It's established Memphis Safe Task Force tasked with ending street and violent crime in Memphis to the greatest possible extent, including by coordinating closely with state and local officials in Tennessee, Memphis, and neighboring jurisdictions to share information, develop joint priorities, and maximize resources to make Memphis safe and restore public order. Just a few more quick bullet points here, just so everybody has all the info. The task force will be comprised of members of key government agencies and is encouraged to utilize the strategies and principles developed during the District of Columbia crime crackdown. If everybody remembers that, National Guard was sent to Washington, D.C. The task force is authorized to request operational assistance from and coordinate with the Memphis Police Department, the Memphis Highway Patrol, and the Memphis Area Transit Authority. A number of other law enforcement departments and agencies throughout Tennessee and Memphis and other officials are permitted by law. And it just looks like we're going to have a repeat of Washington, D.C. And it's just, I don't know if either of you notice a trend here, but what's like the key through point for the cities that he's targeting? What do you think is the through point here?
A lot of them have majority-minority populations. Los Angeles has a large Latino population. Washington, D.C. has a large African-American population. And Memphis is overwhelmingly... and Memphis is overwhelmingly African-American. And Memphis is actually the only area in Tennessee that has a Democratic congressperson. Nashville is also a blue city, but Nashville has been gerrymandered so that we have 3 representatives representing Nashville, and they're all Republicans because it's all drawn in with the suburbs and stuff.
Wow.
That's exactly what I was thinking. So thank you for putting it so eloquently.
Yeah.
That is the through point that I noticed as well. I believe all the mayors as well minorities? I don't remember if the mayor of LA is a minority.
I think he was.
She is. Yeah, she's a black woman. And so is
weird through points.
Mayor of DC, and the mayor of Memphis is a black male, but he's just letting it happen.
So I knew Chicago, Memphis, and DC. I wasn't sure about LA. But yeah. That's a lot of similarities here. I wonder what he's doing.
It's almost like he's doing the very, very normal thing, quote unquote, for presidents to do. And by normal thing, I mean not normal at all, by sending like the National Guard to cities that make him sad. And I mean, I'm being a little bit reductive for the sake of comedy, but that's really what it is.
It's just like wild to see that. All I heard. Sorry, I like lost track of my words there. But when he was talking about going into LA, then going into DC, then going into Chicago, all I saw from the liberals was, "Oh, why doesn't he send it to a red state?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, hold my beer. Here we go into a red state."
Well, no, my favorite. I love how.
Sorry.
I love that. It's not like they're not like, no, don't send in the National Guard. No, they're like do it to a red state next. Let's trample on the rights of Republican Americans next.
They
do it
kept
next.
saying that. They kept saying that about Memphis, and every time I saw that on like whether it was an Instagram comment or like a Reddit post or something like that, my blood boiled. Because I know that Memphis is, it's a city full of good people. I've never been there, but Tennessee is a place that I have in my heart. I am a student at Belmont University in Nashville. I have traveled all across the state for Comic Cons, whether it's Johnson City or Kingsport or Pigeon Forge or Chattanooga. I've been all over Tennessee, and I love it so much. So seeing, people being like, hey, it's okay to send the National Guard into Tennessee because the governor's okay with it and because the population is majority conservative. And that just really hurts because no matter, there are people in Tennessee who do not want this. And the people who are conservative in Tennessee do probably, have no clue. And it's just really hard to hear, hey, let's just send them into a red state. That'll be fine. People live in red states too. I grew up in a very red area in a purple state. I'm going to college in a red state. I am surrounded by red states. I've taken so many vacations in red states. So many cities in red states have my heart. And red states are states too.
So to play devil's advocate here, because I know I'm the one who said, I'm the one who brought that part up, but I believe some of the people, like not all the people saying that, were pointing it out just because like, oh, he's not going to go into a red state. I think the point for some of the people, because I think I might have made this point too, like he talks about, oh, the crime rates are so high, but then he goes into LA, which doesn't rank in the top 10. And Memphis, Tennessee does rank consistently as one of the highest crime rates in the city, in the U.S. rather. So I think that's like the main argument was like, well, if you really cared about crime, why aren't you going into Memphis? It's like, well, he's not going to go into Memphis because it's a red state. It's like, no, I'll go into Memphis.
I mean, this shouldn't be something that we're entertaining as a way to crack down on crime in the first place, though.
It's just wild that it's normalized that we have the National Guard and troops going after American citizens. That in itself is wild.
Yeah.
And we're probably one step away from the Third Amendment being violated.
Oh, yeah. I do know that there is hope, though. And actually, we've got a little bit of time left here. So I think that's all the time we have for you, Sydney, because I do want to bring on our next guest. I think this is a good segue, too, to talk about the fact that there's a little bit of hope because we heard that there were threats going on in Chicago.
Hazel, why are you kicking off Sydney? Maybe she wants to also be on.
Do you want to be on, Sydney? I was just, we can keep Sydney on. I was just thinking that we're going to.
I'm actually, like, I want to be respectful of your time, of course, but I'm actually enjoying having you on.
Okay. Then we can keep Sydney on.
Sure.
You know what? Never mind. We're not going to kick off Sydney.
Yeah, My book can
A
wait a little
mutiny
bit.
was performed on me, and
It's
Sydney is
only
staying.
15 minutes. It's
Yeah,
just
no,
15
let's
more
keep her on,
minutes.
and we're gonna
15
talk
more
to.
minutes. It's nothing.
Yeah, that's fine. She
No,
can
no.
stay.
All joking aside, if you do need to go, go.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
My book can wait a couple more minutes.
Well, anyways, I'm just gonna be the now I look like the evil one who's just like get out. No, Sydney can stay, but we're gonna bring on Ajak, someone who is the party chief of staff, but more importantly for our purposes here today, she is going to be someone who has worked very hard with a lot of activist groups in the Midwest to help with the threats to Chicago that Trump was giving on. So we're going to bring on Ajak right here. Hi, Ajak. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Oh, that's good.
I continue to be empowered by. I continue to be empowered by you all and empowered by all of the people that are working so hard to build for better, right? So it keeps me going.
Yeah, that's good. So do you want to kind of talk to us about your experiences with the whole threats on Chicago? I mean, I know that I was, to full transparency, I was added in a little bit on those plans. I was on standby for protests in Madison if the guard was sent out. Luckily, that was not needed to be happening. So,
Sure. Well, I want to start just by saying that this is not normal. And this is wrong. Like I just say that for whoever's, like driving back home right now, after picking up the kids from school in their car or, like in a gym workout. This is not normal. So I just want to say that first off.
oh yeah.
It was in the news for a few weeks that the president was planning on federalizing National Guard troops and sending them into Chicago, Illinois. I'm located up in Wisconsin and work with various different Wisconsin groups for mass mobilization, right? What we do is we move people. We get people where they need to be. We work with other groups to get people where they need to be. And I think that something that gets really grossly underestimated in the spaces that I'm in is just like the power of that, right? Like, sure, we could vote away our problems. I also believe that we could, hit them a little bit more head on. So what we saw in Chicago, I would actually say was planning to be more of a repeat of LA than Washington, D.C., right? The president planned on federalizing National Guard troops and sending them into Chicago to essentially act as additional police and really terrorize the residents of Chicago. I mean, they were flying fighter planes over predominantly Black neighborhoods.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
fighter planes? That seems like a little bit overkill to me.
A little.
No, just a little, David.
No, it's not normal at all.
Yeah, no, this is terrible. And so, could you tell us a little bit about like the what the people on the ground did in Chicago?
Well, I'll start by saying we won.
That's wonderful.
Right.
Yay.
And I think that's important because it informs like what winning looks like. Right. Because I think a lot of times when we hear the question of like, what happened on the ground, what happened when we were there, like that question is usually somewhat disaster management. Right. Like we're over the molehill right now. Knock on wood. I don't have any around me.
I'm doing it for you. Don't worry.
But, I think the biggest thing is that we took this from a practical approach. Something that I've been saying to a lot of people in a lot of different directions is like, we don't fight to fight, we fight to win, right? Like the idea is that we get to the other side of this and we're successful. So something you see from a lot of advocacy groups that were working in the Chicago area, the Milwaukee area, and the Madison area, including mine, is we really took a practical look at how do we keep the National Guard out of Chicago, and we identified a few different pillars, right? The first is to show support. In Washington, D.C., the National Guard was deployed. You saw, right? Like hundreds of people are protesting today, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry to break it to you. Hundreds is not going to do a lot, right? So we wanted to make sure that those numbers were high, and we wanted to make sure that there was strong regional support so that it was absolutely clear to the president, if you come to Chicago, you're dealing with the Midwest, right? Which I think is something that can absolutely be replicated in other places. Another component of that was the nonprofits on the ground in Chicago that specifically attended to immigrant populations and homeless populations immediately kicked into gear and started providing direct and immediate support, right? Whether that was relocation, whether that was ensuring that they had the supplies they needed for the duration of the National Guard's stay. Local organizations weren't waiting for something to happen. They were walking 3 steps ahead of it, right? So there were mass mobilizations, Chicago's largest demonstration of the year. Milwaukee and Madison have both shown up in really strong strength from up here in Wisconsin. And another component of that work was for when the National Guard got here, rather than going out and dressing funny and putting signs up in there, our plan was just to talk to them, right? Yeah. It is illegal under, and I want to talk about Memphis in this context too, but I'll hand it back to you when I'm done. It is illegal for National Guard troops to operate as police when they are federalized under Title X. And all service members are required not to comply with orders that are manifestly illegal, right? So 50% of our strategy, we got dozens of people ready to drive down to Chicago that we're going to walk up to Guard members and say, this is illegal, just don't do it. So when you combine all of those things, the strong legal response done in Chicago, the strong regional support from up here in Wisconsin, and the actual on-the-ground planning, that would be enough to scare off me if I were a tyrant.
So I want to follow up on that just a little bit because if we think back to LA, California did bring the Trump administration to court and kind of sued them. On September 2nd, they won. So Los Angeles actually, a court judge ruled that the Trump administration's deployment of the National Guard for civilian law enforcement in LA violated the law. So,
yay.
The court did issue a permanent injunction blocking the administration from similar actions in the future, but we've already seen
working so well as we can see.
Yeah, we've already seen, the Supreme Court kind of give carte blanche to Trump to do whatever he wants. So what do you think's going to prevent the Trump administration from attempting to go into Chicago just at a later date?
One of the biggest things when you look at how activism in totalitarian regimes work, right? And you can trace this all the way back to the Bible, right? Is at the end of the day, there's opportunity, right? There's the opportunity cost, how much you gain from something. And there's the actual realized cost, how much you're going to sink into it, right? Mm-hmm. The message that the president received from the organizing in Chicago was clear, that if you come to Chicago, you will lose much more than you ever could have gained. So I think that's what keeps Chicago safe, but I don't think that's going to work for all of the cities.
Okay. But it is a good tool to make it clear to the president that the cost might not be justifiable.
Absolutely. And I think down in Tennessee on that topic, it's a tool that needs to be used against the governor as well and the mayor, right?
Yeah, because I heard that he was capitulating a little bit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Memphis's leaders have rolled over upside down, right? Not necessarily their organizers, but definitely their mayor has almost... He's kind of backtracked, right? But at the end of the day, we're going to work with the National Guard? No. But what you do is you say, no, we're not going to work with the National Guard. But something that I will note in response mostly to David's question is if you look carefully into this memorandum that Donald Trump recently signed regarding the situation in Memphis, it employs the title that activates the National Guard essentially is Title 32, right, of the USMC. In LA and in Washington, D.C., and what was supposed to happen in Chicago is that was happened under 10, which is federalization, federal resources, federal orders. What we're seeing down in Tennessee is actually the governor would deploy the National Guard at the request of the president and be able to use federal funding. So there is a legal loophole that they're going to probably continue using, and it's not illegal for National Guard members to serve as police under Title 32 deployment. So at the end of the day, again, they don't have the courts on their side, right? And non-compliance is also not going to be an option for them down there. And really,
just to clarify, so in this loophole, Trump would need to rely on the cooperation of the governor.
Correct, which the governor is,
Well, I mean, yeah, in certain states that will be easier than others. But that is an interesting nuance to consider. And
just to bring Sydney back into the conversation here, how do you feel the vibe is on the ground, for lack of a better word, in Tennessee? Do you foresee the same kind of movement that we saw in Chicago, or do you see them kind of just rolling over?
Oh, there are organizers ready to fight. I connected with an organizer in Memphis the other day. When Trump initially floated the idea of sending the National Guard to Memphis, I posted something on my story, and an organizing group that was fighting against Elon Musk but building AI data centers in Memphis is also fighting to, get the National Guard out, protect citizens, stuff like that. And there are people out there who are going to fight this. And just because the governor's rolled over, just because the mayor's rolled over, doesn't mean that the people of Memphis are rolled over. And I've talked to some people on Belmont campus about this, and we're going to help. We're going to see if there's something that we can do in Nashville to help support the people in Memphis.
And I think it would be an important thing to say if you are around the Memphis area and surrounding states or surrounding cities, to maybe look into, if you have the time and the resources, to look into ways that you can help, whether it is help organize or like donations or whatever these organizers would like you to do to get involved. Because as we have stated, and as Ajak has wonderfully put it, this is not normal. And if we want to prevent any other states from suffering this way, we need to show strongly to the government and to the president that we will not allow this. So if you are around there, please, I encourage you to look into resources. Maybe if Ajak, I know that you are very well with being organized, and I know that you might not know about down south, but could you share us some tips for how to get involved in these types of stuff?
I'm just going to say show up, and I know that sounds like a really crappy answer, right? But it really is not that hard to Google, when is the demonstration going to be, right? Which organizations in Memphis can I follow? I'm not as dialed in down there, but at the end of the day, it's really easy to get involved. I think that the big wall is that so many of us aren't ready yet, and the line's been crossed, right? So I mean, I think we got to go literally into the streets and stand on business and act like our lives depend on it, because we're very quickly, very abruptly going to find out that they do. So really, my advice would be look it up, right? stop expecting, and I know like for a lot of, I organize no kings and hands off and all that, right? And I know that so many of the people, when I go into the crowd afterwards, they're like waiting to hear like, what's the next event, whatever, right? No, go look for it. Take the time as an individual, as an American, to stand up and take the 5 minutes and get online and research and go look for it.
That's wonderfully put.
Yeah.
David, do you have anything to add?
I just want to say it was lovely having all of you ladies on this podcast episode, and I want to thank you, all of you, Hazel, Ajak, and Sydney, for your time.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
no
I mean, I'm
problem.
still going to be here after the first episode, but
Oh, I know you are, but I do
Yeah, but
appreciate
thank
your
you.
time.
I appreciate yours too, David. Anyways, yeah, I couldn't have said it better than David has said. Thank you very much for both of you joining us to help us out with our first episode.
And thank you for all the insight that you both provided, both on, policy as well as, activism and getting organized.
Yeah, it was very, very. We could not have provided this insight without you, very truthfully. Well, okay, I think that we're going to send you guys on your way, and we're going to do our outro here.
Right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Yep.
you both.
Thank you. Bye. All right. Oh.
So you kicked me out.
You wrong person. Anyways, so this was our first episode of the Freeway podcast. Thank you for listening. If you find us, you can find us at thefreeway.cc. That is our website.
Oh, that was what I forgot to tell both Ajak and Sydney to do, to say where people could find them both, but
Oops.
I guess we could just drop that somewhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyways, this was a good episode. Well, we learned a lot about activism and had some good conversations,
and we learned a lot about podcasting.
Yes, we did. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys have a good rest of this week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.